Good morning. Welcome to Self Build and Renovation Live. Apologies we're a little bit late. It does prove that we are definitely live because we've got an event going on that I've accosted our guests for this panel fight, I'm going to call it today. I feel like I should be in a ref's outfit, to be honest with you, but it'll be great fun. We're going to enjoy this one. We've got them and we're ready to go. My name is Chris Dawes from Visual PR, but let's find out who the most important people are. So one at a time. Introduce who you are, where you're from, and of course what you're representing from the building systems fight.
Yeah, I'm Rob Clark from Honky UK, and we import wooden homes from Finland that are cross-laminated, very healthy to live.
So that's your speciality.
That's our speciality.
I like it. That's why we started talking about ice hockey earlier
exactly,
as well. Finland.
Right.
Yeah, I've got it. And next,
Steve Callow from the Mineral Products Association, MK Masonry. We represent masonry suppliers to the self-build market, and obviously we speak on behalf of what people think of as traditional brick and block masonry build systems.
Fantastic, thank you, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Max Ellis. I'm from Fleming Homes. We're a timber frame manufacturer, so I'm representing timber frame.
Fabulous. Which I think we've kind of got some behind us to some extent there. And you brought examples. Next.
I have, yeah.
I'm Richard Leonard. I'm from Beco Warform. Beco Warform is an insulated concrete formwork system. So large polystyrene blocks which you fill with concrete.
Which you actually stole the intended filming space.
We did, yes. I'm very sorry about that.
By building something just yesterday,
Just
a whole
yesterday,
thing, which kind of proves its point, I think, to some extent, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Next.
Hi all, I'm Phil Bagnall from Evolution Home and Leisure. We are a steel frame panel manufacturer, so we're a complete manufacturer, and so I'm representing steel framed panels, insulated panels.
So as you can see, we've got the full spectrum covered here, which is why it is roll our sleeves up. I apologize in advance, by the way, if there's at times when we might be a little bit difficult to hear, or you hear a hum in the background. As you all know, it is a little bit bitter out there today, and so we've got the heating going absolutely mental today. So yes, bear with us on that one. Thanks for a couple of comments coming in as well. Eleanor Vamplu, good morning to you, and Sarah Traughton, just quickly, you can put your comments in and we're able to put them up on screen. Sarah Traughton, is there a problem? Now you know the answer to that one. There was just a slight delay, so thanks for bearing with us. Much appreciated. Right, so I'm going to come the opposite direction this time and make sure we can hear you with this one, because this is the critical one now, is what are the main advantages of using your building system? All right, now's your chance to put your warfare down, and in what scenario does your building system particularly shine?
Okay, like I said, we are a steel framed manufacturer, and so we design, manufacture, we do everything in-house. There isn't anything we put out to any other company. So as a self-builder, you can come and sit down with us, go through a particular design, and we can panelize that for you, help you cost it. You can then take that design to an architect, or come to us with an architect's design, and we can go through everything. We can show you our complete process within the factory. So order process, manufacturing process, installation process. And once we've gone through all that, you can even actually come and get involved with us and work with us, creating and producing your own panels, and also on site as part of the installation team as well. So with us, you can do as much or as little as possible. You can either do virtually everything, and we only put a two-man team on site helping you actually do the installation. And also in the factory, like I say, you can come and get involved with the actual manufacturing and putting together of the panel, so you get a complete understanding of everything. So okay. That's one of our, we'd like to think is a USP, something that we're able to do. And like I said, as the manufacturer, that gives you the opportunity to get involved and look at everything.
Because presumably it is, yeah, with the steel framework, it is built bespoke to what your design needs to be.
Because we're a panelized system, we have various standard panels. So once we've sort of put them panels together, and then to go into small gaps or to adjust our panel size, to whatever your architect has designed for you or you're looking at, then we're completely bespoke. We can build any size panel, width or length, up to 10 foot tall. If we need to go more than 10 foot tall, then we just put a strap in and go another, few foot higher.
And what's a key benefit, or what would make someone feel that steel framework was the right way to go for their build?
We're actually the only company that's overcome cold bridging within a steel frame, so we don't have a cavity. We've actually patented or patent pending on the fact that we've overcome cold bridging, so we can create a single panel system with U values on our single panel of about 0.13 before we add anything else to it internally or externally. We get excellent air tightness of 0.26 or 2.6. So 2.6 on air tightness, just as standard.
Yeah.
So just as a standard offering into the market, that's what we're coming out at before we start getting other experts involved in getting to passive house standard and things like that.
Okay. And do you find that people already have decided that's the route they're going, or would they still be potentially unsure?
No, I think people want to go to passive, but I can't get a definitive answer as to what the extra cost is going to certified passive against getting to passive but not being certified.
Yeah.
I think people want to build to that standard, but I think then they're not sure where the additional cost is or how big that cost is yet.
Well, I know that episode 7 in about 2 weeks' time, 21st, I think it is episode 7. We're doing this. Got the thumbs up. I was right. Okay, I remember occasionally. We're doing a bit on passive house as well, because it's quite an intriguing area in itself, isn't it? And hence we've already done one episode on passive house that's worth looking back on the YouTube channel for the NSBRC's YouTube channel. Thank you very much for that, Phil. Richard, I mean, I feel like I should almost say that yours is possibly the one that people don't necessarily realise about more than any of the others, because when you look at it, and you've got it here, polystyrene, but that's not the whole story, is it?
No. So with insulated concrete formwork like Warform, I would say the primary advantage to it is its energy efficiency. And that's in that it delivers in 3 different ways here. So we've got a lot of insulation to give us a very low U value. So this particular wall block I've got here gives a U value of 0.14, which is suitable for passive house. And we actually have one that's slightly wider still, but will give us a U value of 0.11. So we've got the insulation aspect to low energy or zero energy construction. The polystyrene, because it has to completely contain the concrete during the construction process, because we're filling this core with our concrete to give us our structural element, it means the continuous formwork being insulation eliminates cold bridging, because if the insulation wasn't continuous, the concrete would escape. So it was a definite proof of point there that we've got our continuous layer of insulation in the build. And because as the concrete goes in, it naturally seals up to the previous pour, and we have relatively few concrete pours over the duration of the build, maybe 3 or 4 if we're using a concrete pump. It means we naturally achieve a very airtight structure as well. So it's doing the 3 key principles of passive house design just within this one relatively simple method of construction.
And I always make an apology, and I do to all of you here. I'm from outside of this industry. I'm just doing the host role here, and I love doing this because I'm learning every episode. It's absolutely brilliant. Am I right? And I apologize if I'm not, that is an area that maybe people don't automatically think of, and you've had to educate people on this, or am I wrong?
To a certain degree, yeah. We do produce different levels of insulation within our system. So we can start at building regulations level and progressively go down to full passive house performance. And so it really just depends what position people are in their project, what direction they're coming from, as to which of our systems they might choose. And very often they may come across insulated concrete formwork for a different reason. For example, wanting to build a basement, which you can also use it for. And then that then leads on to, as they discover the system or what it's capable of, then perhaps that's how they then realise that there is actually that potential to go full passive or close to passive.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to ask a really stupid question. I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. obviously, I mean, we've got an example down behind us that you guys built literally yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's not that we're suddenly going, that's what your house now looks like. There, it is covered around the outside.
Yes,
With what?
absolutely. On the outside, you've got a full range of choices. I would say the most popular currently is probably render still. So
Okay.
polymer render systems, which can soft adhere straight to the outside panel. But equally, we see brick slips, brick skins, stone skins, even timber cladding. That seems to be growing in popularity just at the moment. And on the inside, it can be wet plaster or plasterboard straight to polystyrene.
Okay, that makes sense. Forgive me for a second, Max, because I'm just going to briefly jump over you, because Steve, I'm almost thinking, obviously from the MPA masonry side, there's a crossover here.
For sure, they're some of our members as well, and you know, we have members that produce that product. We have members that produce it in woodcrete as well within it as the same form.
Woodcrete,
Similar shape, exactly what you're looking at there, but a calcified form of timber that has incredible kind of long durability as well.
wow.
Similar, there's many examples in the center that can show you them, but very similar to that. And again, the core of it is like a concrete structural framework. It's durable. It's going to last for a long time. We're a big supporter of it.
And if you don't mind, I'll come back to you, Max, is that it makes sense for you to now also answer the question fully about, you know, what are the main advantages from your perspective of your speciality,
Sure.
Obviously the masonry side, and where would someone be using that?
So we do have representation for the ICF, the concrete frame manufacturers, but we primarily represent the brick and block manufacturers within the UK. So mostly on the block side of things. Something that everybody's seen, you know, this has been the de facto sort of build method in the UK for north of sort of 75 years or so.
Yeah.
You know, cavity that everybody recognizes. We have brick outside, insulation, cavity, and then we have a block in a wall. You know, the reason we promote it, the reason we're really very passionate about it is it's not just that it's been the default build method. It's got a lot of material properties that we really believe in. You know, it's durable, it lasts a long time. You know, I've been a self-builder. I've done self-builds in the past, and I picked that material choice because I like the properties of what that brings. We call them heavyweight builds. You know, they've got some thermal property advantages. You know, a lot of people have questions. One of the biggest ones we get asked about is energy efficiency and you know, how other material sort of choices can be perceived to be a lot more energy efficient. The first build that meets the future home standards coming in that was done in the UK, or meets or exceed it, Project 80, was done, and they picked brick and block for a reason, to prove that that build method could hit that target. So, you know, there's answers to all the same with the other build methods. It's always a question of like, ask the question and listen to the people that represent that sector giving you the answer that you need to know, and understand whether that fits with what you need. We have the answer. You know, we like the material properties, the thermal mass, all that stuff that we get with heavyweight build. That's why we like that material. But there's also other bits in the background where people will be asking you questions, and we have answers to those. That's our kind of role in this, is to give you that best practice kind of guidance and answer the questions that we know are going to be coming about.
Which I would imagine is an awful lot. And I do,
for sure,
hasten to add here is that don't expect today's episode to give you all of those answers from every single one of these things. It just isn't possible. There's too much to talk about, too many nuances, I would imagine, for the situations. But if anything, it's to start making you aware that there are conversations to be had. And I think that's the key one. And we've got, and I'm going to put it up again on here, is that the link that shows we've got the, say that, my mouse isn't working. Click. Not working. I was going to put the web link up for the show. Oh, that's because I've frozen. That's why it's not showing. My screen's frozen. But there we go. January 31st, February 1st and 2nd. We got a 3-day show here, and you can get here and you can speak to all of these experts. You can go and look at all of the stands and sort of find out more. And that's the critical thing, isn't it? Max, back to you. Now, I do start feeling that we are ramping that tension up now between the different methods, and I'm okay with that. If I'm honest, I'm okay with it. But obviously we're now going in a different direction again. So we've gone steel, we've gone the polystyrene with concrete, we've gone the concrete and brickwork. We're now going wooden.
Yeah, so timber frame. And, you know, I'll ease that tension down a little bit, perhaps by saying there are so many options out there nowadays for the sort of builder and the self-builder. And when I give these sort of talks, I always say, you know, we can all pretty much get from A to Z, and all the different systems in this hall today, you know, we can all get to where the customer usually wants to be, but it's their job to find out what system's best for them, really. Yep. But anyway, I'm here to promote timber frame. So
I like your passive way in there.
Just lulling them into a false sense of security. But yeah, timber frame benefits. I suppose the two most commonly known benefits with timber frame are the speed of construction that you get with it. You know, we can usually get a customer's house to wind and watertight stage, which means the structure erected, windows and doors installed, roof boarded and membrane. So, you know, you've got that wind and weather tight shell. You know, on an average size house, we're usually on site about 2 to 3 weeks to get them to that stage. There's a big benefit for them to say that initial big part of the construction process is fairly quick.
Yes.
The other sort of most commonly known benefit, I suppose, is the thermal efficiency that you get. So with timber frame, usually the primary insulation core is housed within the timber frame panel.
Yes.
So, and that's usually factory fitted. So with this one, you can see behind me, we use an open panel timber frame. You've got the main body of insulation that's housed within the timber frame panels.
Yeah.
And as you can see there, we've included another additional layer, which takes that wall from probably just about meeting building regs or a bit slightly better down to a low energy level. So with that type of system, the customer can choose how well their wall is going to perform. So that particular example is showing a 140 mil timber frame stud with insulation housed within it, and an additional 50 mil gets you down to about 0.11 U value, which is a sort of, you know, very good sort of performing wall. So they're the two main benefits: speed of construction on site, thermal efficiency, but there are lots of others, you know, flexibility, ease for the client, so on and so forth, sustainability. But also what a lot of companies are finding out, specifically in this market, that self-builders need a bit of help elsewhere. So it's not just about the product, perhaps, it's also what that company is going to offer in terms of the bolt-on services that they offer. For example, they might be able to do your planning application for you, or your building regs drawings, or put your foundations in. So it's lots of different bolt-on products that might sway it for the customer, not just the actual build method.
Okay. Are you able to get as far as passive house as well?
We can do. We can get, our system isn't certified. Primarily, we don't do the slab as part of our remit, and you'd normally, but if a customer comes to us and wants passive, we can try and work. But as somebody alluded to, a lot of customers, when they start on the journey, have got that, you know, goal of getting into passive house levels, which is a great goal. It's the Rolls Royce of you know, build sort of performance. A lot of our customers will end up just getting a really good thermal envelope, fabric first thoughts, getting a really airtight and thermally efficient structure, but they may not quite go to the full certification stage.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, and it's aspirational, I guess, isn't it? I've got to say, I keep chuckling inside. I feel like the big bad wolf, and you know, the different types of housing that we're talking about here. It's just quite amusing. Last but by absolutely no means least, we've got Robert Clark from Honka. Kind of a crossover here, I'm assuming, because yours is timber, but very much Scandinavian focus.
Well, Nordic,
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're using massive wood, basically. So instead of the timber frame system that Max has got there, you know, our walls are solid wood.
Wow, yeah.
That come in what you would traditionally have called logs, but it's a cross-laminated timber that we're using. And the main reason that people choose our product, we're a company that's been trading since 1958.
Yep.
Built more than 90,000 houses around the world, so there's a lot of experience there. We know what we're doing. And it's probably one of the most sustainable building systems there is. I mean, the more wood that you use in a building, the more sustainable it will be, provided the wood's coming from sustainable sources. We're binding lots of carbon into the houses, so a traditional sort of 3-bedroom house will bind about 90 tons of carbon, so that's quite significant. That's the equivalent to driving a family car about 14 times around the world, so it's quite a lot of carbon. And that's bound into the building for life. And the other benefit of this system is it's incredibly healthy to live in. So we don't get any mold spores. There's no dust in the air. There's no bacteria. The walls are actually naturally antibacterial. And we can also prove that it reduces your heart rate. So you'll have about 10% less heartbeats per day. It's about 8,500 less heartbeats per day if you live in one of these houses. So you
My
feel
wife says I haven't got one.
you feel more relaxed, you sleep better, it can reduce your blood pressure. So a lot of health benefits to living in this type of house as well.
Okay, I do love that. That's solid, isn't it?
Well, it is a very tactile product, you know, and the thing with wood, and again, one of the benefits of this system is the wood is naturally controlling the environment inside the house.
Right.
So particularly this time of the year and in the spring when the sun's coming in through the doors and windows, that sun energy still has, or the heat still has energy that gets absorbed into the wood. So if you feel that, it's actually quite warm because it's trying to equalize the air temperature.
Else,
so what happens is overnight, particularly at the moment when it's so cold, the air temperature drops and the heat that's in the wood gets released back into the house.
Okay.
So it helps to reduce your energy costs. And like the other guys were saying, you know, we get asked about passive house a lot. When you actually drill down and you question a client about why they want passive house, you realize that a lot of them, I would say at least 90%, don't actually want passive house. They just want a house that's energy efficient, not going to
better.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, when we say to them, well, we can build you a house that's going to cost you less than £10 a month in energy, they say, well, that's exactly what we're looking for. You know, and passive house is less important than.
I guess, you know, we've got the ability to get to passive house potentially with all of these.
I would imagine all the systems.
And like I say, it's aspirational, which I think even if someone can't get there, if you didn't have that aspirational level, we probably wouldn't have people getting up this high, would we?
No.
It's like they say, aim for the sky, that's as far as you'll get. Aim for the stars, and you could, you know, get through the
absolutely,
etc., that kind of stuff. Okay. Right, now that I've stoked this one up from you all, then I like that one. How does affordability compare across these different building systems? And I don't know whether we're able to go into things like cost per square meter, potential impact of rising material costs. And I'm going to go this direction this time. Well, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm happy to
You'll go for it then, Phil. Is that give us an idea? So how does the affordability side?
Okay. Where we like to gain is like on timber frame, we're very fast. So we're fast on site. We'd be similar, perhaps a week, 2 weeks to build a 120 square meter house, superstructure, roof on, windows and doors fitted. So we can save money in that area, and you can be into it a lot faster, especially if you're going to perhaps hire a mobile home, which a lot of people do, don't they, while they're going to be, you know, building their own house. Material costings, we've been pretty flat. We've got 3 major materials, which is our insulation, our steel, and our cladding, and one seems to be up and the others will come down. And so I haven't priced anything yet and done a job where we've had to go in and say, look, we've had a price increase. Actually, even up to a year.
Really?
Yeah, even up to a year, I haven't had to do that. And also, where the biggest thing that probably hit most of us was HS2, because so many materials, the price just went up ridiculous. But that happened for everyone, so I don't mind that. If it affects everybody, that's okay. Square meter price, varying on the size and the complexity, fully installed and delivered. The structure, so the superstructure, we can be anything from £450 a square meter to 525, depending on the complexity of the building and how big.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be, and then basically people are then looking at all the bolt-ons and the add-ons, but that's for a completely sealed building. Once you put the windows and doors in, completely sealed, airtight and watertight, structure with first floor and a loft and the roof, everything waterproof base.
Wow.
So that's what we'll, and like timber frame, we're there in less than 2 weeks
Okay.
on site. And there's no power tools. So everything is done with an Allen key. So our walls are fitted together and held together, yeah, with an Allen key. So we're not even charging batteries and things like that on site.
Wow.
Either. So
Okay.
so
Fair shout. I mean, that gives us a good idea. I've been given a 10-minute warning, so I'm going to make sure that we get through everybody. So everybody gets to say, no, my fault. Richard, the same question to you, sort of like, what are we looking at cost-wise?
So cost-wise with ICF, the feedback we get is that it's comparable to standard construction, masonry construction. The cost profile is probably the biggest difference. The actual materials are the more expensive part of the build, but the savings come in the time and the labour. So because it's so much quicker and we're not reliant on bricklayer levels of skill, it's a semi-skilled construction system in that respect.
Yeah.
That's where the big cost savings come. And depending on where you are building in the country, that can actually become quite significant. And so those two things together tend to bring us back out to approximately, I'd say, about the same sort of costings as masonry construction. Now, some of the variation can come in with the external finish, because not all external finishes cost the same. So render and timber cladding might be the sort of lower cost end of that comparison. A full brick skin or stone skin on the outside of an ICF system might take it slightly higher. So again, it all just depends on what's involved in the.
It's not easy for you guys at all, is it? I mean, it really is a lot more to it. I'm going to very quickly jump because we've also got Sarah Troughton. Apologies if I pronounce that wrong, Sarah. Richard, does the polystyrene of ICF get nibbled by mice? We're keen to build with ICF, but our current house next to the site has mice in winter. Would woodcrete be a sell-for option for us?
Well, the polystyrene itself has no nutritious content, so there's nothing there that will actually nourish the mice. So there's no reason for them to go for it. But the kind of like the bulletproofing to that is the external cladding, because once this is clad on the outside, effectively it's sealed.
Yeah.
So there should be no access to that point.
Just checking what we got. Another one. I'm going to put this out there. Hanu says wood is the only sustainable building material. Discuss. Unless you use mostly wood in the superstructure like Honka, how can the other systems be ecological and have sustainable benefits? Right, there you go. There's a grenade.
I'm happy to answer that
Please
one.
do.
Mineral products are a local material. People don't realize that they don't travel. You know, all block manufacturers. What was going to say in answer to the question about cost, you know, we don't talk about what the specific costs are because we represent all the different manufacturers. It'll be different in regional areas. But, you know, mineral products are on this massive journey to decarbonize. Since the 90s, we've taken 50% of the embodied carbon out of it.
Yeah.
It's changed completely in that 35-year period. And since even the beginning of the, you know, beginning of the 2010s, since I think we marketed them at 2011, 50% of our operational energy is gone. Manufacturing, it's coming out of it. So it's decarbonizing rapidly. One of the most important things is it's a local material. It comes from down the road. You know, we travel less than, when we did our, you know, our study for where these materials come from, they come from less than 40 miles from you. It'll be a local supplier that you know, that you see traveling up and down the road to you. That helps us an enormous amount with sort of sustainability benefits. I understand it's a common conception, but you know, we sat there with one of the heads of the biggest house builders, volume house builders at the Future Homes Conference a couple of weeks ago, and he said something not dissimilar. But you know, a lot of this is measured over a short period of time. You know, it's measured over a 60-year period, and we are getting a very different picture with modern methods of measuring. Some of what we call the life cycle tools are coming out very, very positive about the whole life aspect of what happens with these buildings. But we then expect these buildings to last even longer. You know, it's the same as the car kind of thing. You know, you buy a car and it gives you the 3-year figures for the car, but you don't buy a car expecting it to last 3 years.
Yeah.
You don't buy a house expecting it to last 60 years. You don't expect to knock it down and then start again at that point. So all the things we talk about sustainability, and I understand that's a common conception, it's not necessarily a correct conception. There's a lot of aspects behind that which change, and we have a full plan to decarbonize. It's literally part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. We talk decarbonisation day after day, and we have published route maps. The Low Carbon Concrete Working Group have got published route maps. We, the NPA, have one specific about concrete products. So we know where we're going.
Yeah.
You know, we polled members. Some of them have declared decarbonisation by 2030. Almost every single one have declared full decarbonisation by 2050. We are on that journey to remove it, and it's fascinating, super interesting. Not a conversation for now, but that's
Oh, I know. I'm very conscious.
Yeah, I'm
there's
conscious
a whole, and
there's a massive answer behind that.
And I'd
very
love to go
simple
deeper
question.
with you
Yeah,
at some
and
point.
it includes everybody that uses wet cast, you know, foundations and block work and everything that gets involved in this. It all builds into what that upfront carbon picture is.
Yeah.
And you know, there's always an element of concrete in there, and we're on this amazing journey to take that carbon out of that.
Which
piece.
I think I feel you got a right to reply on that as well, I would imagine, if you want to. But before I say that, is make sure you look in the description of the episode, because all of their websites are available for you to click on and find out more. And I want to make sure you go and do that and check out the organisations these guys are representing. But yeah, Phil, do you have?
I'm not actually an expert in this field.
Fine.
But at the end of the day, the steel side, as most, it's in the news all the time. The amount of effort Tata Steel are going to, for instance, down in Port Talbot, to change the amount of energy required to produce steel down there. I mean, I was down there yesterday looking at what they're trying to do. So we built a building 9 years ago for Specific in Swansea Bay with Tata Steel. We built that, and over the next 3 years, they're looking at taking it down and putting it up somewhere else as a different building.
Yeah.
Now, so therefore, we might not be as sustainable as some too. I can take the same panel, move it to somewhere else, a house or a shed or a park home. It doesn't have to stay as what it was, which was an office. It just has to stay within that design of that 8 foot by 4 foot panel.
Yeah.
It's going to go there. And that's why we made it.
And I'm not sure whether, Richard, do you need to have a reply to that comment, or is it being covered?
Kind of a lot of that's been covered on the kind of mostly concrete side. In terms of polystyrene, it's a natural byproduct of the oil refining process.
Yeah.
And when used as insulation, once the building is operational, it will offset its own carbon footprint 3 times over at least every year for the rest of the lifetime of that building. And as we were saying, these long lifetime structures, that's a lot of offsetting.
So it's an understandable comment, but there's a lot more to it than to be able to just make a blanket.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Can I just add in
Please.
something on the timber frame, which obviously isn't a solid timber structure as Rob's. What you can see behind me is the insulation is not a natural material. It's a material called product called PIR, which is oil-based product. But our customers sometimes want to use a natural insulation, such as hemp or wood fibre, sheep's wool, that sort of thing. The reason why that one there behind me is so popular is the bang for your buck that you get with it. You know, it's very good performance for the thickness that you get. So usually, if you've got to go for a natural product, sometimes you've got to go a bit deeper, which means the timber frame panels have to get deeper, and it can be an additional cost. But with timber frame, you can go fully natural in terms of insulation as well.
okay. And I guess you don't even need to have a reply to that, because you're like going, he's shouted for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're using all natural products. So even the insulation, we actually use a wood fibre insulation as standard.
Yeah.
So everything that we're using is natural. And obviously, as a tree grows, it's binding carbon as we're cutting trees down. The forested area in Finland is growing year on year. So more trees are being planted, more carbon's being bound. So we don't even have to think about carbon offsetting, because we're taking more carbon out of the environment than we're putting in it, even with the processing.
Yeah.
So we know from studies and evidence that's been carried out that it takes about 50% less energy to process wood than it does to make cement-based products, 80% less energy than it does to make bricks. So processing wood in itself is a very sustainable and environmentally friendly, system.
See, now I'm getting tense. I can feel the tension. So I'm going to quickly, because I'm conscious. I need you guys to answer this quickly because of the timing. I only got as far. We didn't get to you with the cost side of things.
Yes. Again, with the market we're in, the designs can be, massively different. It will depend on the design, and we've got a cost calculator on our website that gives out generic figures for sort of build costs, just the timber frame part and the total build costs. As a rough idea, just for the structure, the timber frame, we work on about a £300 per square metre cost for that. But that doesn't include the erecting costs, because some of our customers put it themselves. But I think you can, with everything, if you look at about a quarter to a third of the total build costs being the timber frame costs, it is a good sort of benchmark to work on.
Fair enough. Steve?
I think we covered it. Speak to your local suppliers, speak to your regional people, that whether that's through a builder's merchant or direct with one of the manufacturers you have down the road, but speak to them. I mean, it changes around the country. It's a local product, so it changes around the country for where you are. It also depends what type of product you're using. There's everything from aircrete products to dense concrete blocks within what we cover. So they've got variabilities there depending on energy performance as well, what kind of build you're looking at in terms of masonry. So it's massively variable. Advice as always, which is a really good one, go speak to your local manufacturer, pick what type of build method you want, what product within that group you want. Speak to your engineer about what fits, what you're comfortable with, and then go and find what that's going to cost.
Get the cost there.
Locally.
That makes sense. Robert?
Well, I mean, we offer a full turnkey service. So when we're dealing with a customer, we'll build the house from start to finish, right down to floor coverings. We can even do furniture packages. So what we tend to do is we work on the client's perceived budget, their wish list of what they want. And then when we design the house and work with them on that, we've always got their budget in mind. So it really is driven by the client more than the product in a way, because we say as an average for a turnkey house is about £2,500 a square metre, but we don't know at the outset whether they want a £5,000 kitchen or a £50,000 kitchen, and obviously that influences that square metre price. So for us, it's more about working with the client and trying to meet their budget. And what we always say to everybody, and it'll be the same with all the systems, is if the client has a sensible budget that you can build a 3-bedroom house for, a 4-bedroom house, and whatever it is they're looking for, all of these systems would suit. We can change things within our system and within the specification to meet the budget that they're looking for, but it just needs to be realistic.
No, I understand that. There's a whole load of other areas that I would love to be able to cover, but I'm being shouted at because I can't. But what I want to just make sure is that the website addresses for all of these gents are in the episode description, as I said. So make sure that you grab that and you can have a look and find out more. Get in touch with you guys as well to find out. How many of you are here at the show at the end of the week? But sorry, the end of the month. Sorry, not
Yeah.
So make sure you get yourself signed up. Again, it's on the screen. The sign up. It's completely free to go as long as you book in advance. Loads of parking here, as we always say, and we are actually going to be previewing that show a little bit more when we do the episode 7, which is on Tuesday the 21st of January. I think we're going live at about 1 o'clock for that one, and we will preview that in more detail, the show, and as you hear, these guys are going to be here, as are many others, for you to find out. This is what I love about doing these episodes. There are so many things to find out, so many experts to speak to. And this is the beauty of this place. They're all under one roof that we can come and speak to you. Heck, I even bring them together and create a fight. That's absolutely fine. So you've got the website there. You're able to get yourself booked on. All sorts of talks that will be on as well. We'll be previewing that, as I say, in episode 7. But from gents, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure you're the same as me, thinking, I still want to talk about more. I suggest everybody comes and has those conversations. But thank you to you all. Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you for the comments, Sarah. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Very informative. I'm glad you think that way, Sarah. Come and find out more, and we'll see you on the next episode in a couple of weeks' time. Sorry, I'm just going through to what I need to do. See you next time. Cheers all.